So President Zelensky has thoroughly humiliated Vance and Trump. So do you remember what was happening right before this office meeting? It was the fake Epstein files. That's what was happening, right? So we're going to release the Epstein files. We're going to release the Epstein files, but they didn't. What they did was they re-released already publicly available court filings from the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, all the discovery that becomes public. So that's all they did. They rewrapped it, they regifted it, as it were, tied it in a bow, and said, here, American people. And we all call bullshit. We already know all that. We know Trump's been on the Lolita Express at least 7 times. We know he's all over the call logs. We know that he first had sex with Melania on the Lolita Express. We know for a fact that he was traveling in Epstein's jet. Apparently they bought it after Epstein died. He acquired that jet and was using it during his presidential campaign. And he was called out about it several times, but nobody really paid attention. Incredible. But so right then, that was the whole fake Epstein files, and people were pissed. MAGA was so mad about it. And other right-wing commentators, they were all up in arms. So then it's time to switch narratives real fast, right? They have to switch it. So they invite Zelensky to the office. And they have it out. Well, you know what really triggered them that Zelensky said? Because it was hard to hear him because he's a soft-spoken man. He was saying, ceasefire? I'm all for a ceasefire, but it doesn't really matter what I agree to because Putin has not kept his end of ceasefires at least 25 times. So it doesn't matter. I could agree to a ceasefire all day. But what's he going to agree to, and how are you going to hold him accountable for his end? It's just like Israel and Hamas. You know, as soon as he got into office, he's like, oh, we got a ceasefire. And there were people on, like Kyle Kalinske on YouTube, Secular Talk, he called it out. He said, this is a PR thing. This is all about PR. There's not going to be, it's a fake ceasefire. Believe that. And he was right. But it was Israel that kept violating that ceasefire because Israel's goal is to have a greater Israel. They got tanks in the West Bank. They're taking it over. Trump wants to buy Gaza, kick the Gazans, the Palestinians out permanently. No, they can't come back. We're not going to allow them to come back. It's a beautiful beachfront property. I really want to put some hotels in there maybe Jared. He does a really good job with stuff like that. That's where he's going with this. So, and I'm going to tell you, Zelensky is the victim here. So it seems but he's really good at blaming the victims for things. Just ask the women that he's sexually assaulted. How about that? But anyway, I digress for one moment. So Zelensky was all about a ceasefire. So just recently he said, okay, we'll do a ceasefire. I'm all for it. Ceasefire. So they have a ceasefire. And the Business Insider came out with this really good article. Ukraine's on board with a ceasefire. Now, Trump just has to get Russia to stop attacking it. Yeah, because that's what's really happening here. So Ukraine has expressed readiness to accept the U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. The U.S. will resume the flow of arms and intelligence to Ukraine. The next challenge for the Trump administration will be getting Russia to agree. So in Kyiv is open to a ceasefire with Moscow, but it's only half of the equation. The Trump administration has got to get Russia to stop attacking Ukraine. Seems like that. Ukraine signaled that it is ready to accept the U.S. proposal for an immediate 30-day ceasefire with Russia. Kyiv and Washington, in a joint statement Tuesday, they said, it creates a new opening in the effort to end the brutal 3-year war. The U.S. said it will immediately resume military aid shipments and intelligence sharing with Ukraine, according to the joint statement from both delegations. The next step, getting Russia President Vladimir Putin to cease his missile barrages and assaults on Ukraine, which may prove particularly tricky. Ukraine is continuing to see Russian attacks. Russia is not stopping its attacks. It continues missile strikes on civilians and on critical infrastructure. Well, of course it does. Mikhailo Podolyak, a Ukrainian presidential advisor, told Russia Business Insider last week, amid the pause in U.S. support, Russia is not stopping and will not stop. Because really, I mean, they invaded Ukraine. They are the aggressor. They want to take over Ukraine. That's always been their goal. So to think, and I mean, they'll stop maybe for a while, like they've done before. That's their MO. They stop, and then a few years later, they reinvade. So this was their goal all along, was to take Ukraine. Why does anybody think that they're going to stop? Russia has relentlessly attacked Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv, with missiles and drones throughout the conflict. Last week, President Donald Trump threatened Moscow with sanctions and tariffs, even though we have no trade with them. So what tariffs? On what? So stupid. Like putting tariffs on champagne, which we don't even fucking produce, idiot. But anyway, Trump threatened Moscow with sanctions and tariffs if it didn't reach a ceasefire, but the strikes have continued even after the direct talks in Saudi Arabia in February. Russia attacked Ukraine overnight last Thursday with 67 missiles and nearly 200 drones, one of its largest attacks of the entire war. So, what? I don't see this happening. I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. And you know, and I know he wants his good optics and everything's about reality and ratings, reality show, White House, and it's just not going to happen. He's not going to get that ceasefire deal. It doesn't matter what he fucking threatens Putin with. Putin owns his ass. I mean, and why are we blaming the victim here? That's what I don't get. Somebody explain to me like I'm 5, you know? Why we're blaming the victim of a war of aggression, and invasion. I mean, don't you remember all the stories at the beginning when they started getting into territories that Russia had taken at first, and they went back and they found all the mass graves and the people that had been raped and the children that had been stolen? I mean, this guy is serious. He's not going to stop. And just like, you know, and now Trump wants to expand our country to include Canada, Greenland, and Panama. He's re-threatening Panama again today. So I don't see how we're going to make it through 4 years of this. I just don't. I'm sorry, I don't.